Hi, and welcome to another Scientology Outside of the Church podcast with AOGP. I am Jonathan Burke. My co host here is the spirited and in the dark Quentin Stroud. They've been having electrical problems in the Philippines the last few days, so he's by candlelight, but he's here. He's here. So let's give him an A+ for effort on that. This episode, well, Quentin, I'll let you introduce it, and you're gonna be the prompter, and I'm gonna
Yes.
give the
Yeah.
the
Listen,
answers.
th this episode, I believe, is something that we really need as independent Scientologists, as those who uh, study and practice Scientology, the subject. It seems to me like there has to be a right way of doing things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've done many podcasts about, the ideal scene for independent Scientology as a category, as organizations and the way we operate and function. But before we get into all that, right, let's go back a little bit. And I want to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
How does one leave the Church of Scientology? How does one escape? How does one get out? How does one leave the Church of Scientology? Is there a right way to do this? Talk to me.
Well, well, you've got the code of honor, the Scientology code of honor. I mean, if you're in the Church of Scientology and you've been in there for more than 2 years, chances are you've done some things that you feel really good about, and you really like the tech, and that's the thing, and that's the differentiation that needs to be made. Is that there is the corporate Church of Scientology, and there is Scientology, the subject, like we brought up in the last podcast the other day. And that's the distinction you have to make when you're looking at your code of honor and you're looking at a doubt condition. Maybe you've seen people behave in ways that you think are less than stellar as Scientologists in the corporate Church of Scientology, as far as the way that they've treated you, the way they've treated others. You know, we could spend a whole podcast on all of the outpoints, the things that shouldn't be happening in the corporate Church of Scientology, but that goes beyond the scope of this. So let's just say you're in doubt, in a condition of doubt. And you're in a condition of doubt because you know that the tech works and you've gotten a lot from it, but you're not happy with the way your experience is going, either with people, and like LRH says, he says, if you ever have any problem with the tech, it's not the tech, it's the personalities involved. And that's a direct quote. So it's not the tech. So I'd like to indicate to our listeners who are on the fence in the church that it isn't the tech. The tech works. We have volumes and volumes and
Right.
volumes of back research, policy that supports this tech and how it works and what you have to do and everything. And this is the indication. The church has gone off the rails. It went off the rails long before you ever got in, to most of our listeners. And if you've been in for decades, you know what we're talking about. You've seen the subtle erosion of changes to where things are nowhere near what they looked like when you got into the church. And that is the thing that David Miscavige counts on the most, is that there is this slow erosion. It's like a mountain turning into a desert over millions upon millions of years. And so you don't really see these changes because they're so subtle, and you get these events where they say the typist is the one that caused all the errors in the books, and that LRH never read the
Mhm.
book. I mean, really? Do they really think you're that dumb? So you've come to realize this. You've been in for decades, and you probably have friends, many friends. You probably have business associates. You've got family that's in it. You've got uh, all of the money that you have tied up on account in the church. And these things, there's a few things you have to look at. Can you do this? Can you leave the church, and can you continue on an independent Scientology with us or with anybody else? It's your choice. If you don't get help from us, get help somewhere, as they say on TV. But that doesn't mean that you should leave Scientology. There's nothing wrong with Scientology, the subject, and you have to get off the doubt condition. And the only reason that you get hung up in a doubt condition per LRH is the hang up a doubt policy letter, which says you've either got false data or you're PTS to the church. Chances are you got both, and you don't know what to do and you don't know where to look, and you found this podcast on Google or Bing or Yahoo or DuckDuckGo or something like that, and you're looking for an answer. I've been wanting to do this sort of thing for a really, really long time. And I just want you to know that the tech works. The wins that you had are real, and that the church itself, the corporate church, has gone astray and has been taken over long, long ago, because it is a way out. It may not have all the solutions, Scientology, the subject, or the church, but it has a way to give you the ability to find the answers that you seek that you can't find in Scientology as an operating Dayton or an OT. Now, what you need to decide is, what's the greatest good for the greatest number of your dynamics to continue on in this and suffer through this miserable experience, or get out. Don't tell anybody, because LRH says it is an ability to withhold. Okay. Withhold from your friends, your business partners, your family and stuff. Try an online course. Get in touch with us. Get in touch with somebody else in the field that sounds like they could do what you need them to do as an auditor, or train you or whatever. But I assure you that anything that you can do in the church, we can do better outside of the church,
Yes.
without making you wrong, using ethics as a make wrong. Ethics is a personal thing. 99% of the people that come to us have been mishandled with ethics. And that's one of the biggest reasons why people leave. And that is because you have what is called an out list. That's an auditing term. And you've been given an item, and that item is whatever your out list is. But it makes you feel bad, and it might even make you sick. And you have to look at this and go, okay, I need to get some handling. We'll help you. If you want to get handling on that, and you've had some really bad ethics handlings, we have the tech to do it. Get you a theta meter. We'll do a free handling. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question about that?
Mhm.
Because that's good to know. Like that a person can start to feel like they want to disconnect or separate or just kind of go a different direction because they've had bad ethics handling.
Mhm.
Talk to me about that. What does that mean? Like how does one get handled badly when it comes to ethics? Because if ethics is a personal thing, how's somebody gonna handle you in your ethics?
Well, that's the whole thing, is that for whatever reason, the church has gone off in the direction of the way to control people is to tell them what condition they're in life. And the church, the corporate church of Scientology has the viewpoint that they can do no wrong, because they're working harder than you are. And that is simply not the case. You are a public, the service PL states that service is above everything else. And you have
Hmm.
to serve a person who has paid for services, and you have to give them what's promised. This is
Hmm.
something the church stopped doing a long time ago, because they've practically forgotten how to deliver auditor training levels. And people come to us all the time and they're spun in. I know people that have died on the survival rundown because they're delivering a rundown that LRH didn't even develop and canceled. So uh, as far as the ethics thing goes, is when somebody tells you you're doing, let's just say when you were a kid, for example, your parents said that you weren't trying hard enough in school. How did that make you feel? Made you feel pretty crappy, didn't it?
Mm.
That is a wrong item. Okay. The listing question is what am I doing? Possibly. I can't tell you what the listing question, but we're just saying hypothetically, what am I doing, or what am I doing wrong, or what am I doing right?
Right.
Only the PC knows, because what's true for them is true for them. But it's a wrong item when your parents say you're not doing enough to get your grades up. And so they ground you. This is the same phenomena you get when somebody mishandles you with ethics in the church, because the thing your parents did with you is the same thing. It's an ethics thing. It's a wrong indication, and wrong indications lead to tremendous amounts of bypass charge. And outlist with a person can raise hell like nothing else. LRH says this
Hmm.
and uses that terminology. So what we've found is these bad ethics handlings really bypass a lot of charge. They stimulate the charge, but they don't handle it. And then it happens again, and it happens again, and it happens again, and it happens again. And you get all these weirdnesses that the church does. I mean, I could tell all kinds of stories that I've had ethics officers yell at me and say, "You fucked her, didn't you?" When I didn't. That's a wrong item. I've had people, an ethics officer at Tampa Org say, "Do you know who I am? I am the ethics officer." And she was German on top of it with that kind of an accent. This
Uh,
holier than thou, this, you have to do what I say. I control you, and this altitude
so,
horse shit. And this is what people run
yeah,
into, and it makes them feel awful because it's an
but that
list.
it's totally it's making me laugh because I remember going to the ethics office multiple times, right? Multiple times.
Mhm.
And it was typically something going on with my courses, being in the academy or something of that nature. And it was just always a thing. It was always a thing. And
Mm-hmm.
when I would go to the ethics officer, because I had to per, the thing, go to the ethics officer and they'd be like, "Hugh, like, what's going on, man?" And I'm like, "Listen,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I remember distinctly was talking to this ethics officer, and it was because I had been late. I was continually being late, right?
Right.
And so, of course, something's going on, right? And so I go to the ethics office, and he was like, "What's going on? Why do you keep being late?" And I said, "Let me be clear with you. I arrive at exactly the time I intend to." Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I said, so whilst I understand that you have a thing that Academy starts at this time, of course, starts at this time, whatever, I totally get that viewpoint. I arrive at exactly the time I intend to, and that will continue to be my stable data.
Mm-hmm.
So, unless I can get back on course, what are we talking about? That was literally the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Well, ethics is a personal thing.
Right. So I don't understand what you could do and or say to me. I'm just talking about myself, and
Mm-hmm.
not invalidate anybody else's experience. But I don't know what you can do or say to me that would make me feel bad about what I did.
Well, your personality profile per an OCA is significantly different than other people's. I mean,
Touche.
and on top of that, you're also a Leo. So
Well, I'm a Pisces with a Leo rising.
right,
Right? But
right,
yes,
right. Pisces with a Leo rising. So you know,
I was born 7 days before LRH. So
yeah. So there you go. So and these when when people feel like that they have, and a lot of people get into the Church of Scientology because they need somebody to follow. They need somebody to tell them what to do. And that's how they get into the mess
need
that
for
they get into.
change. Yeah.
Yeah, and need for change at the lower end of the awareness scale, but on the grade chart, just below the purif on the grade chart. So you need to get out, and you need to get a comparable magnitude, a comparable datum to get out of the church. And you don't have to tell anybody about it. You just do it on your own. You do it privately. You speak to somebody like us, or any other independent auditor organization, and you you find out, well, what are these guys like? You may need to talk to a couple of different organizations and get an understanding of what I was dealing with, what I could be dealing with,
Yeah.
what I could be dealing with, what I was dealing with, what I could be dealing with, what I'm dealing with. And look at this. And it's really just gone that, I mean, I've been out of the church now as of this year. It'll be this coming October, it'll be 20 years since I've been out of the church. 20 years. And the stories that people tell me every year get more fantastic in a negative sense, and harder to believe that anybody could ever suffer that for any amount of time. And this is what you need to find out, is that it's gone so far off the rails. It's that rumor line where you have a bunch of people telling a rumor, the chain thing, and by the end it gets to the other end of the person, way down on the end, 12 people, it's completely different. That's what's happened in the church. That's how far it's gone. It
Yeah.
doesn't resemble what I did in 1988, what my dad did in 1973. They're completely different things. They were different in 88, but they were really different in 73 and 65. And it depends on when you got in, what your experience was, and that's why we have all the infighting with a lot of the people outside of the church as far as auditors and things like that, is because the realities were so different when they got trained. This is my reality, this is my reality, this is my reality. Well,
Right.
that's the thing, is you just have to get a different reality of what it could be outside of the church. You don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to tell the church that you left. And people, Scientologists who may listen to this and go, well, it's a withhold. Damn right it's a withhold. It is a withhold, because you can't speak your mind in the church. You can't have an opinion, because you will get retribution for it if you do. That is,
Let me ask you a question. I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. Finish your
No,
thought.
that's fine. I mean, that's the whole thing, is you're training. You're supposed to be getting all this information to be your own person and think for yourself, but they won't let you think for yourself.
Hmm.
That's an out
So,
point.
and I hear you say that, right? And and I said this to you as we were preparing for this podcast, because I was saying to you that it sounds to me like a lot of the horror stories and a lot of the stuff that we hear and see out there right now, these are people who were either A, born into Scientology, and as they grew up and the years progressed or whatever, things totally changed.
Mm-hmm.
They were either on staff and got mistreated or had, uh, 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 um, ED talk to them a certain way or treat them a certain way or whatever, or,
Mm-hmm.
the chairman of the board speak to them a certain way or treat them a certain way, or they were in the Sea Org and they got treated a certain way. I haven't really heard about like a lay person that just comes in off the street, decides to do some courses, decides to kind of start to get their bridge progress or whatever, and they totally like get mishandled. Now, again, I hear you say like poor ethics handling. I hear you say that the auditing commands have changed and certain things have changed, and that can
Mm-hmm.
create a flub, right? But I guess my question is that if if we're talking to the general person that could be listening to this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
2024,
Mm-hmm.
like, and they're saying, you know what, I started this, it ain't really working for me, or I want to do something different. I love the tech, I love what I'm learning, but I don't want to feel like I'm in this system, right? This religious system.
Mm-hmm.
What would that person do?
Walk out and don't come back. We have people do that. We've had numerous people do that. There's nothing stopping you. Nobody owns you. Nobody controls you. And if anybody comes to your door or sends you an email or sends you a letter or whatever, you don't have to respond. It's part of the
Yeah,
Scientology axioms. You can choose to communicate or you can choose not to communicate. and
right,
and there's nothing to be afraid of, but they operate off of this draconian, we know better than you do and your spiritual eternity is in our hands, and if you slip up, well, I've got news for you. Your spiritual eternity is your spiritual eternity. Nobody can take that away from you. You're not going to lose it, and it's more than available in the independent field and can be done absolutely correctly and more thoroughly than the church ever could for a ridiculously less amount of money and less amount of time, because you don't have to deal with all of this mother may I stuff. Ethics is a personal thing, and we'll help you out with your ethics as far as leaving the church and things like that. But you have to look at, are you happy? What is happy? Are you happy in the church? And happiness is, your ethics are in. If you're unhappy in the church, your ethics are
hmm,
out. That's it.
right,
And that's where that doubt condition comes in, is am I happy with this? No. Okay. Talk to somebody in the independent field. Find out what it's like. What's it cost? What can I do for free to get a feel for it, and find out if people are going to try and control me, because there's a huge button on that control aspect, and there's virtually none. I mean, we do
right.
auditing from your own home. You can sit there in your PJs and go in session. You don't have to get dressed, drive to the org.
That's what I do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is
Let me say this because from my experience, my sojourn through Church of Scientology, discovering independent Scientology, ALGP, and really like moving into this space of enjoying now, fully enjoying my spiritual uh freedom journey. It really started kind of how you said it. It's like, okay, I'm not going back. I'm going a different direction.
yeah,
Then finding different uh, organizations or different independent people and doing different things. I talked to multiple independent auditors and really just got a feel for what their viewpoint was, their style was, their way of being. If we had some parity, some good ARC, that whole thing
hmm,
felt really good.
right,
When and I had some great conversations with people. When I found you, Jonathan, and AOGP, it was immediate kismet. It was immediate kismet. It was very much so like this person knows what he's talking about, gets how to deal with me as an individual, as a being, because I ain't no joke, right? How
hmm,
to deal with me
hmm.
and keep me on
You're a
online.
formidable being. Yeah.
And so it felt to me like I trusted I trusted that this was going to be a right move for me spiritually.
Hmm.
And in that, I said, okay, what do I need to do now? And as you talk to me about different ways of getting started, you of course talk to me about, going all in and really committing to my bridge. And, and I had to take a look at what was really, really important to me at this dispensation in my life.
Right.
So, so for me, I dealt with my personal, like it was like about personal reflection and making the decision of how I wanted to move for myself. Then I did my research. I'd had conversations with people, and then I made a decision on how I wanted to move. I never wanted to stop learning, which is where the courses and stuff come in with the college. I
Hmm.
never wanted to stop learning, and I never wanted to stop progressing, which is my bridge activity. So both
Hmm.
sides of the bridge, training
Hmm.
and auditing.
Right.
So I never wanted to stop that, but I wanted to make it my own. And that's what I feel like as an independent Scientologist, I'm able to do now.
Hmm.
I'm able to make this my own. And that felt um, very freedom of choice. That felt very much like,
Self-determined.
more than any, yeah, right. More than anything, I was a self-determined being now on how I wanted to move forward.
Hmm.
Then when you start talking to me about the money and the pricing, and I was like, wait, what? This is You're serious? This is how I could do this?
Hmm.
And I totally, for the first time, believed and saw for myself that I could do this.
Hmm.
And trust me, I was in a position where I was willing to like make some big financial commitments to my own, spirituality, to my own
Hmm.
my own growth, my own
Hmm.
development. I
Hmm.
was ready to do some things for what I need to do. And yet when I found ALGP, it felt like now this makes sense.
Hmm.
Now it makes sense on why this pricing is in place, why these hours are necessary, why my technical service thing or technical um,
Your technical
track.
improvement program
Yes,
tip.
that
Hmm.
my tip. Why my technical improvement program was necessary. And when you cover everything for me very thoroughly and really enlightened me as it relates to what needed to be done to get us where we need to go in a very quick, short period of time,
Hmm.
relatively short period of time, it makes sense to me and it was a no-brainer. So all I'll say is this: what I really love about this process is that whomever is listening to this, you are self-determined and you can make these decisions for yourself, by
Hmm.
yourself.
Yep.
When you then team up or twin up with somebody who really gets it and has been through it and is ready to help you along the way, you know, Dorothy on the yellow brick road, so to speak,
Right.
help you along the way.
Yeah.
Like I just want to get to where I need to be,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
who can help me with that? And this is why I started doing the podcast with ALGP too, because I wanted to, I didn't really have any doubt, the doubt condition. I just know I wanted to help people make this journey for themselves in the way they need to do it. So
Right.
that's my story.
Well, thank you. It's important. It's important to note that and this is the term I had to introduce Lisa to early on in our relationship was arbitraries. It's important to note to anybody that's leaving the church that you don't know what you don't know. And the hardest thing to spot is a missingness per LRH. There are a significant amount of arbitraries. These are things that are put in your road that you have to do in order to go OT. One of them is hundreds of thousands of dollars. One of them is an IAS membership, and you have to contribute so much money to that. So you have to buy these books, and you have to have 2 meters, and you have to, and these meters cost $10,000. You can buy 2 theta meters for under $1,000. 2 theta meters for under $1,000. You only need one set of cans, 2 meters, under $1,000. This is an example. Most Scientologists in the church have no idea that there is a meter that we use in the field, the aforementioned theta meter, that is more accurate and is completely solid state, with the exception to the A to D, D to A converters of the electrical signal that goes into the cans and into your body and back into the meter. It's solid state. It's software on your computer. These sorts of things are the cost, all of the things that you have to get approval for before you can do, and they have to ascertain for you that they know better than you do when you've gone release on a particular grade, and they say, no, you didn't do this, you have to do this. I mean, there's so many arbitraries that just don't have to be there. You can go from 0 to OT8 in 2 years. In 2 years or less in some cases, if you really push it. And in the church, it would take you decades, because they're going to milk you for all you're worth, both in your efforts, your donations, your time, all of this stuff. This is LRH. I'll give you an example. LRH had the HASI, which is basically the same thing as the IAS. The HASI was basically the church membership at the
Wait,
time.
spell that. A Hazy.
HASI, HASI.
Hazy. Okay.
It's an acronym. You know how much the HASI was for a lifetime membership?
What?
$5. And
Adjusted
Miscavige,
for inflation is like it's like $25.
yeah, Miscavige did away with it. So this is an example of an arbitrary, and you didn't have to donate anymore or anything like that, just $5. So this is an example of how exacerbated these arbitraries are, and you don't have to put up with that stuff. And this should help you with your doubt condition. There are so many things that you don't know that you're having to do, that you think that you have to do, that are arbitraries. It would blow your mind as a listener who's in the church and you're thinking about looking into other things. We have people all the time look at our website. I can tell what they look at on our website, and I can see, yep, they're in the church. I can see their location. Go, yep, they are in the church. And you know, you can break free of this. There's nothing holding you. You just have to decide to talk to somebody and say, look, this is what's happening. A lot of the people that we get, like I've mentioned before earlier, or have been done or on the survival rundown. Get off of it. It's not LRH. If you're feeling crappy about it, you're feeling crappy for a reason. We can fix that easily. You're overrun on your objectives is usually what it is. These types of things. If you're being made to redo all of your grades, you were told you were clear, you were told you were OT, and they said, nope, you need to go all the way back down to the bottom and start over and do your SRD. You, my friend, are being lied to. And it is the cruelest thing to tell an OT you are not an OT, or a clear that you're not clear, or a grade 2 release that you're not a grade 2 release. That is evil. And we could get into even more of things that they've done on knots and things like that, the way that they do new OT4 through new OT7, where they're making people mock up a bank and come back and redo it so that they can sell them more, auditing at knots rates and everything like that. It's the most evil thing in the world. Get out. Come talk to us, come talk to other people, get a good sample of who's out there, and have conversations like Quentin did, and get in touch with people. You don't have to tell your family, you don't have to tell your business, but you got to do what's right for you. LRH says you've got a brief breath in eternity to do this, and you need to take this opportunity now, because it might not pass this way again. Scientology works, and it doesn't just change your life now, it changes you as a being from here on forward up the time track in the physical universe and in the theta universe. Your life will never be the same. I can guarantee you that the paths that you would take if you don't go OT will be different paths than you will take if you do go OT, and you will never be the same for the better. Make that decision. Get in touch with somebody. There's nothing to be afraid of. Nobody's going to hurt you. And we will stand for you, and we will stand behind you all the way, and give you all of the information and let you know what you didn't know. So
Yeah.
that's what I have to say about that.
I appreciate this. I really do. And I want to just say this as a just to insert this here, that and when it comes to family and the relationships that you have, whether family is inside the church and there's some things, with that whole situation, or family who is outside the church and antagonistic or just doesn't want you to, look into Scientology at all. I want
Mm-hmm.
to say this, and this is a statement from the State of Man Congress, and it's a lecture 5 on marriage. Um, and this kind of blew me away, right? Um, Ellerate says that mothers and fathers actually come later on the track. Earlier, it was just Thetan brotherhoods.
Mm-hmm.
And this pretense at association was something that seldom worked out very well because everybody knew they were just pretending and they knew there was no real familial relationship. This falsity, or the ideas of this falsity, actually come forward into the modern family. It's very easy to break down a family because there is no relationship in a family except a pretended relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it for a moment and you realize that you're supporting a thing which can't exist. Listen to this. A Thetan was never the daughter of another Thetan.
Mm-hmm.
No Thetan was ever the father of another Thetan. No matter what the good book says, that's the truth of the matter. Now, anytime you have a relationship which isn't inherited or based on immediate and direct fact, you have to work at it. Now, I'm not saying that marriage is a false relationship. It isn't. In this society and time, a family is the closest knit, self perpetuating, self protecting unit and is necessary economically and otherwise to the society the way it's rigged at this present time. And who destroys marriage destroys civilization. That's fairly sure. Let me say this. When I read this and heard this, I was floored
Mm-hmm.
because I inherently knew, and that you guys know my story. If you ever listened to any of these podcasts before, I came from a very conservative Christian family, and it was very well controlled in that modality. And but I knew that wasn't my family. I don't know how to say it, Jonathan. I really don't know how to communicate it. But I knew, like, yeah, you my family, and I get you like on a genetic entity line, like I get where I came from. But
Mm-hmm.
I knew as a being, and I didn't have Satan back then. I knew
You were a
this
spirit.
wasn't the same thing. Right,
Yes.
exactly. And so when LRH said this in the State of Man Congress, I was like, wait, what did I just hear? Like, I don't have to feel locked in to this pretended thing
Yeah.
beyond my genetics,
I see where you're
shared
headed with
genetic.
this.
I'm going somewhere seriously
Yeah.
because I don't have to be locked into this. And when I decided that and realized that for myself, whatever direction I took as a self-determined causative being, I felt very good about it for me,
Hmm.
right? And I remember many conversations with my mother, and she tried to cast demons out of me, and I started casting demons out of her, and we was going back and forth, right? And so we were having this whole thing, but I never felt like I was losing something.
Hmm.
Hear me, and I want you, those of you who are listening to this and dealing with some kind of family condition, I never felt like I was losing something. I felt like I was able now to create exactly what I wanted. I was able to postulate the family that I wanted. I was able to postulate the relationships that I wanted. I was able to have something better. And last thing I'll say is this, and the Bible says it that way too. It literally says, it says that you will have many brothers and many sisters, many fathers and many mothers in this truth, in this awareness. And so I never felt like I was losing a mother or losing a father or losing a brother or whatever. I always felt like I was gaining an opportunity to create it exactly the way I wanted. And that's what I found when in my journey into Scientology, the study of, and then independent Scientology in earnest.
Hmm.
So that's my story.
Well, it's an interesting thing to note that, and this has been my observation, that a lot of people, and there's a parallel here since we've kind of gone off on a side rail here about family and marriages and things like that, that a lot of people, they don't flourish and prosper until their parents pass away, because
That's true.
I've seen it so many times, and you just look at the statistics and you go, and they said my dad died, and you go like, what happened after that? Because you just became this beast of a creative person, and you had a successful business and a successful family, and these things hold you down. Now, the angle that I think that we're going for on this is, when you're in the church, you're being held back. You're being held back because you've got somebody dangling this carrot of spiritual eternity that's saying, well, it's gonna be a long time, and we're gonna milk this cow for as much as we can. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. You can get out of it. Nobody's going to stop you. It's not illegal. And I'll tell you this much: when I told everybody what was going on with the church, and I mentioned this in the last podcast, so I'll make it very brief, but every single last one of my friends that I thought were my friends discarded me and wouldn't talk to me anymore. Every single one, even two of them who were my auditors, and I was an auditor as well, they even kicked me to the curb. And
Hmm.
99% of those people that I told are now out of the church 20 years later.
Hmm. And did they
Out.
apologize? Did any
Nope.
of them apologize?
Nope. And
And see, and that's why, hold on a second. And that's why I don't, let me tell you something. A blocking is a blessing. Okay?
yes, it
A
is.
blocking is a blessing. And I ain't got no problem blocking somebody because let me be very clear. I tried to tell y'all 20 some odd years ago
Mm-hmm.
that something wasn't right, something was afoot, something was missed, something was a whatever. I tried to tell y'all, called me everything but a child of God. And
Mm-hmm.
then when you finally get it and you finally leave, you don't come back and try to make right what you messed up.
Yeah,
You
with
know what?
yeah.
And that's why I don't play those little relationship games. I really don't. I
Mm-hmm.
really don't, Jonathan. You know me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And LRH says it this way. He says a culture goes by the boards if its basic building block, the family, is removed as a valid building block. But there is no reason we should get mocked up and silly about what the relationship is. The relationship basically is a postulated relationship.
Hmm.
There is no truth in the relationship. It
Hmm.
is a postulated relationship. And and when people stop postulating it, it ceases to exist. Okay,
Right. Right. And
okay.
that's what's happened with the church. There are many, many, many good people still in the church who mean well and want to help others and care. And there are lots of Sea Org members that feel that they're doing the right thing. But the thing is you don't know what you don't know, and it is a postulated relationship that they are behaving the way they're behaving towards you, the listener who is thinking about leaving the church.
Mhm.
They're behaving that way because that's there now. I'm supposed to. This is how everybody else does it. This is how
Now
I'm
I'm
going to
supposed to
treat
treat
you.
you this way.
Right.
Now I'm supposed to act this way. Now I'm supposed to say this to you. Yeah.
Right. Right. So they're misguided. I'm not going to go as far as to say that they're wrong, but they're misguided because, and you of all people could probably give me all kinds of biblical quotes on, you know, you're only as good as the people that raised you, the people that taught you how to
Right.
do these things. and
Yeah.
and you have to be your own person, and your postulated relationship with the church is merely that, a postulated relationship.
Yes.
And you have to change your mind and look at this and go, okay, if they won't listen, so be it. It
Right. And again, I know my voice. Please, please, please hear me, people. I know my voice sounds like I'm a bit flabbergasted by it all because I am a little bit. But when you get as big as you are, I don't know how to say it. When you get to be as big as you truly are, you will look back at all this stuff and you'll be like, I can't believe I was being held down by that ball of lint.
Yeah.
I can't believe I was being held by that down by that consideration of what these people think I should be being, doing, having, acting like, whatever, whatever, putting in place. And when I say these people, I'm talking about the church, I'm talking about my family, I'm talking about whoever. I can't be held down by that. And when you start to leave the Church of Scientology corporate structure and decide that your spirituality is something that you really want to take into your hands and make something, make a go of it, like a real go of it, do something about it. Like when you get that unction, when you get the notion, when you get the thing, when that first little question comes up, man, I don't know if I do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't know if I should do something about it. Get something going on that, and then see where that takes you. Now, if it takes you and you say, you know what, I think I'm good. I think I really want to just do what I'm doing now, and I'm okay with the status quo. Fine, do what you're doing. Nothing's changed.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really realize that that feeling, that awareness meant something and is going to take you somewhere, follow that yellow brick road and see where it takes you. And I promise you, it's going to be a beautiful journey, one way or the other. So
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
good.
If it isn't fun, it isn't Scientology. If you feel like you're looking over your shoulder and people are writing knowledge reports on you, and you feel like you feel like, and this is the thing, you feel like you have to be good. Okay. I got news for you. You're already good. A being is
Thank
basically
you.
good. And
Thank
you
you.
need to recognize that, folks. If you're in the church and you feel like you have to be good, no, 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 no. That's not how this works. Scientology is really fun. Dianetics is really fun, and it's
Yes.
easy to do, and it's real flowy, and there's not this effort. There's not this,
Yeah.
you know, enforcement or inhibitedness going on. It's curious. It's understand. It's
Yes.
know.
You want to see what's next. You want to see how deep we can go. I remember having a conversation with you, Jonathan, and I remember going in session, and it's like we want to see what we can dig up. We want to see what we
Yeah.
can pull out of there and take that whole journey and that adventure, beyond the beyond of the mystery of the mysteries of who I am. I
Mm-hmm.
want to know that kind of stuff. And that's what I'm being 100% honest, y'all. That's what Scientology has done for me. It's gotten me so interested in myself
Hmm.
that I want to uncover more about me. And in uncovering more about me, I feel like it's something that I'm almost like winning the prize. I'm almost finding a sacred treasure of self. And that's what this has always felt like for me. And so I'm very, very happy in my journey, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm very, very happy in my journey. And this is something I love, love, love talking about and sharing.
Yeah, and you know, doing Dianetics and Scientology, the subject is a journey in self adventure, and a journey in self adventure should be fun. And it's in the church, it's an adventure of how long I can stick around and play by their rules. That's not a journey of self adventure. That's something quite different. And you really need to look at that and understand that and going, am I having a journey of self adventure here? Am I finding out more about myself and who I am and my abilities? Or am I being told that I have to do this and I have to do that in this enforcement? It's unfortunately it's degraded down to Gestapo tactics. So
Yeah.
my best advice to you is to look at the doubt condition and compare. You have to get comparable magnitudes. You have to do that, compare and contrast how these guys are, how these guys are, how do they treat these things, and ask them and get in communication and realize that you're being suppressed. And if you committed an overt against the church, write it down. Just use the OWPL, time, place, form, and event. Write it down, get it on paper, and get it out of your head, and you won't be PTS anymore, because your spiritual freedom is your choice, and you should be able to walk that path the way you want to, because throughout history, in all of the time track of the physical universe, there's always been somebody there telling you how to walk your spiritual path, and you don't have to do that. LRA just doesn't make evaluations for you. You make your own decisions. I was just talking to one of our auditors in training about this, is that we never tell you what to do in auditing. We never tell you what to do with anything. We merely say, this is what LRH says, and we suggest it to you. So our suggestion to you is to take a look, step outside. You don't have to tell anybody. And if you decide, well, I'm going to stick with this, that's fine. That's your decision. That's your postulated relationship. Or you can make another postulate and you can get up the bridge in less than 2 years if you want to. And you can get trained as an auditor and you can help other people, and your dynamics will flourish and prosper beyond your wildest dreams. So, in closing, Quentin, do you have anything you want to add?
I mean, I think you just summed it up. And I will say, because again, I didn't do the whole doubt condition thing, but I'll say this, you know what feels right to you. And despite all the naysayers, despite all the conversation about what is and what's not, and who's doing what, and who's sleeping with who, and despite all that kind of stuff, you know what feels right to you, and you get to then move closer and closer and closer in alignment with what feels good. And in doing that, you'll see how you really want to be, how you really want to express, how you really want to grow. I personally suggest really, really talking to somebody like myself, like Jonathan, and getting like that two-way communication, because we know communication is a universal solvent,
Mm-hmm.
and getting some good two-way communication just to say, hey, listen, I want to talk to you about this because I don't know what I should be doing. Or I want to talk to you about this because I don't know if this is the right track for me. Let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And with no evaluation, but simply, again, you've heard our stories, you've heard, kind of what's there. And then let us hear your story. And I'll ask, does that feel good to you? Is that the direction is that the way you think it should have been handled? Is that, whatever, whatever. And when you start to realize, say, you know what? I know what I'm doing for me. I know what's right for me, and then move forward with that. That's the best advice I got to give. So
That's
I'm
right.
loving it.
That's right. If you're not having fun, you need to change things up and you need to change your postulates and get more information to make that decision. That's the best thing I can say as well. So, folks, we are at the end of this podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, we've got the email on the website. You can get a hold of Quentin as well. through us, and we will put you in touch with him. A great terminal. He's a chaplain for AOGP, and he can talk to you and get the information and help you out with these things. Whatever decision it is that you need to make. So for Quentin and myself, and for Scientology Outside of the Church podcast, we'll see you on our next podcast here in the next day or two. Namaste, and we love you. Bye bye.